For people who've never bet awards before, the NBA can be pretty wacky because, last year there were 3 guys that could have won MVP, and it almost turned into like a backyard brawl of everyone trying to figure out who was going to win the award at the end of the season. Joel Embiid obviously ended up winning. And Matt, why don't we start with MVP? Don't know if any long shots can get into the mix here, but among the contenders, I'll be honest, like I don't have a guy I like really versus the other guys. The prices are kind of staggered here where, Jokic is the favorite. So in order, Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Tatum, Embiid are all sub 10-1, kind of in like a staircase of like increasing price. So Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Tatum, and Embiid. And then you have like Curry, and then you're going to like Durant, kind of like your second tier guys, SGA, who maybe you're going to want to talk about. What just kind of like handicap this for us about like, what are you looking for? Is this an award you want to bet before the year? And maybe who do you have winning at the end?
So historically, we've seen last 25 years, only 2 winners, Kobe and Steve Nash, have won it over the age of 29. And that to me is like a very important sticky stat that we just do not see. Once you get to close to 30 at 29, you are shifting into, I am prioritizing winning titles. So I am not prioritizing the regular season. And we have Embiid, who won it last year, Giannis, who has 1, and Jokic, who has 2. All of those guys are in. All I care about is titles now. Like Embiid has made it very clear, like he got the 1 and then he got embarrassed. So he's probably pretty motivated to just go out and win the title this year. With the games restriction, I think that gives us even more reason to think that we're probably going to have, I think, a season of changeover. I just think it's more likely that these guys between 25 and 28 are stepping in and probably going to bring a little bit more value to this market. So I don't like betting on Jokic, don't like betting on Giannis, don't like betting on Embiid either for this award. My favorite bet right now in terms of those guys is Tatum. I'm really worried about the Mavericks. They look awful. Luka's already hurt. That can change by January, but I feel like I have time to still get Luka at a pretty good number. He's 6-1 right now at BetMGM, King of Sportsbooks. So with Jason Tatum being 7-1, I think that's better value right now. I think the Celtics are going to be a monster. I know the Celtics will be good, and I know Jason Tatum will be a big part of them being good. So he checks both of those boxes. I like those guys. From there, though, I like some of the long shots. You mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He finished 5th in voting last year. The numbers are there for him. If you look at his impact on both sides of the floor and the production, I think there's a really good chance that Shai's actually going to be in this combo. He already finished 5th, and that doesn't mean that like he finished 5th because Luka and the Mavericks tanked. Luka would have been 5th otherwise. But still, Shai was good enough to carry that kind of attention from the voters. That to me matters with OKC Prime to make a pretty big jump. The best value for me on the board, though, is actually Donovan Mitchell, 30-1. I like this Cavs team a lot. The trade stuff definitely spooks me and concerns me. But at 30-1, thinking maybe this doesn't happen until the offseason, I think the Cavs have a real capacity to win 52-plus games this season. If they do, and Mitchell's putting up the kind of numbers that he's capable of, he's going to be in that conversation. So for me, Mitchell at 30-1, Shai at 18-1, Tatum at 7.5-1. There's a 7.5 in the market. Those to me are the best values to bet right now before we start building the in-season kind of portfolio going forward.
Really, really enjoyed that 40 minutes just now with Matt Moore. Has me ridiculously excited now for this NBA season. Was excited before. We did it to open the show as well. Can't wait to bet awards, Ken. Can't wait to bet game-by-game stuff. That got me really jazzed up for next Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. My kids are like stampeding upstairs. I'm like, what's going on? As I'm like thinking about how excited I am for NBA awards. I don't agree with everything Matt said in terms of like I'm betting them, but I really, really liked those opinions, and like they kind of follow the same methodology that I like to use when I bet awards. I think just to like pick one out, like I agree with him that I think MVP this year is before the season. MVP is really, really difficult because he's right. And I think people have heard me say this on the show a lot too, that like you kind of graduate through steps in your career and you have like an MVP phase, and then you kind of like have your window that you win, and then it's really like titles, or you're just like past the prime of your career. It's one of those two things, and you're kind of on to the next thing, and we're on to the new thing, except like there's a weird jump where the new thing or the current thing has been Embiid, Giannis, Jokic in some order for 3 years now. And Luka was supposed to be the new thing. Like this was supposed to be like last year and this year was supposed to be, okay, cool. Now baton's handed off and you're next and we go. And like, this is what it is. Except not only did it not happen last year and they tanked, I mentioned like I was really in on them this year before the preseason started. And I even said, look, I haven't bet any of this stuff yet because let's watch the preseason just in case something happens. And like boy, like, am I really happy that was the philosophy and not like, oh, but in a bunch of stuff, like Kyrie already got hurt, Luka got hurt, the team looks miserable in a bunch of situations. I'm not sure their defense is going to be good enough. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's bad that's going on with Dallas. And now I'm kind of like, all right, well, if Jokic and Giannis are definitely past their MVP window, I think, and in terms of just people wanting to vote for them, Embiid maybe wins again. Like, he won last year. It's not like his window has to be closed. He just won. And like, all right, but if it's not them, and I really don't like Tatum for the award statistically, and now Luka, like, is that team good enough? Maybe not. I mean, you're out of options, but you're out of the obvious options. Like, you're out of the ones that make the most sense. And so then it's like, well, is this going to be a really crazy? And to Matt's point, like, he likes SGA. Like, I get it. Like, I get why he likes SGA, because maybe the baton's to him instead. A guy who statistically stacks up really well, obviously has the chance to be on a team that's going to win a bunch of games this year. Or is it like a weird throwback, which we don't have basically ever? Is it like back to Kevin Durant because the Suns are going to win 65 games, or back to Curry because the Warriors are going to win a lot? I don't think it's either of those, but like, I guess. And you start to kind of keep like, man, like, who do I even like? I don't think I've ever entered a season before since I've been even like paying attention to MVP, and I've been betting it for like 7 or 8 years. I don't even think I've entered a year before where I actually dislike everyone. Like, there's not, usually it's like, oh, I like him and I like him and I like him, like NFL MVP. And this year it's like, I actually hate all of them to win the award. I found huge red flags with all of them. And then I have no idea who's going to win.
Green Bay -1 on the road. The total is 44.5. Ken, pen, pencil, blood, or blank. Packers and Broncos from Denver.
It's going to be like yet another Packers game where I want them to win. Like, I need them to win. But in terms of like, do I think they should be favored by more, or do I want to bet them? Not on your life, based on what we've seen so far. What did I even try to make a number for this game at? I think I came at, Packers 1.5 was my number. So like a yay, like basically got what we got. Now, cool, like Aaron Jones back. Okay, maybe that's not like a market shifting injury necessarily, but if you're a Packers fan, or you think, you want them to win the game, you're happy that might happen. Sure. Honestly, I am so much more interested in the over in this game than anything. And I know the Broncos gave you a kind of a low-scoring, clunky Thursday night game against the Chiefs. A, that was a Thursday night game. B, that's like what the Chiefs have done all year, which is why Chiefs-Chargers is going to be a really funny discussion when we get to that game. Like, is that the Broncos D like stepping up, or is that actually like the Jags did that to the Chiefs, and some other teams have done that to the Chiefs so far this year? Like, is it about Denver's defense, or is Denver's defense still like exactly as terrible as we think it is? This will be a good test for that theory. God, I mean, like, Aaron Jones plays too. Both these teams have had similar dynamics throughout the year, like sort of mediocre, at times good offenses, like against the right opponent. The offenses have been good, but sort of like middle of the pack. Fun word choice. And honestly, and this includes the Packers, brutal defenses. And the Packers defense has been like incredibly underachieving so far this year too. Bottom half of the league in about 20 different categories. Really not very good. I actually like the fact you get Denver's offense off the Thursday night game where they look terrible. Maybe that depresses the total in this game too. Really, really like the over. One of my favorite bets of the week.
I was one of the big Packers supporters coming into the year. And the question that I asked and Ken asked and a lot of people asked was, hey, like, if Jordan Love's good, why can't this team like achieve some really like good things this season? Maybe win the division, maybe be one of the better teams in the NFC. In order for that to happen, you need Jordan Love to be good. I'm not convinced that he is. Now, he can do well enough to get this game over the total because, like we've said, the Broncos are one of the worst defenses right now in the history of the league. But is Jordan Love good? I would actually lean towards right now, probably not, and there's still a lot of time for him. Obviously, it's not over yet, but some really discouraging performances in the last couple games now. They'll likely get Aaron Jones back, and they'll have their full complement of weapons, so maybe this looks different. But, I mean, I'm going to get Denver with that home field at an underdog price here against Green Bay, and I think the Broncos are going to win the game. I love the Broncos in this game, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Ken, give me Denver to win outright on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers. They're only 1-point dogs, so yes, I do like them to win. I kind of can't shake this feeling that I have, and it's not like there's no reporting on this. I don't have any sources. This is just my personal opinion here. I don't think Jalen Hurts is fully healthy. he's played games that haven't been great before. Have we seen him play like it was so uncharacteristic of him, like some of the decisions that he made, some like the throws that he made. I feel like he's not right physically. Now, I could be wrong about that, and he could go for 400 passing yards and run for 100 yards and have 5 touchdowns. And, Wednesday through Friday, no reporting on a Jalen Hurts injury, and I may be willing to change my tune. But if, start to hear whispers that maybe something's up with Hurts, I think the Dolphins are probably just going to win. So I got nothing on this game right now. I'm not as bullish as you can on the Eagles, but I think you make a really good case for Philadelphia. But I do think you made an awesome case for the over. And also, I know you said it's kind of like the same thing. But just if people out there think, hey, maybe the Miami offense if it steps up in class against a defense like this on the road, maybe they don't perform as well, and you don't want to bet the over for the game. Ken, I don't know how you listened to what you said and not like the Eagles team total over 27.5 with the handicap that you just gave in the last segment, honestly.
Yeah, it's red zone efficiency is going to be the tale of whether they're going to have red zone opportunities in the game almost one. I mean, it's a certainty that they will have a lot of them. The red zone offense is 23rd right now in the NFL, and there's a chance that it shows up it's just, the thing is okay, but you also have to play a defense that can stop anyone. Cool, the Eagles, we've talked about this with the Eagles before, and I actually think it applies to this game too. The reason why you would be worried about them in a postseason setting is the new coordinators and the game plan and adjustments, and those are things against a big time opponent in a playoff spot, you play San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. You probably have to have a great game plan. You probably have to make great adjustments. Your coaches have to be really good, probably, to have some idea how to navigate that game and win it. Maybe you're just more talented, but against San Francisco, you're probably not. Super Bowl against Kansas City, if you get a rematch, same thing. And I don't think that's what this is. Miami's defense is a sieve. This isn't a playoff defense. This isn't a 500 team defense. Their offense is just so otherworldly good that hasn't mattered. But I don't know how you shake, we all watched the Chargers game week 1. We all watched the Bills game. I just aside from luck and fumble luck and random bounces, tell me how the Eagles offense isn't doing what those two teams did. Tell me how that's not happening. So and if that's the case, and it's well, Miami's going to do the same thing. Are they? That's not what Buffalo was. Are they definitely going to do that? Is Tua going to be under a ton of pressure in this game from the Eagles defensive front? Maybe. That really affected him against Buffalo with some of the plays. So okay, maybe. And injury report's going to be a lot are the Eagles getting anyone back? Is Lane Johnson definitely out? Ankle sprain seems I think more closer to not playing than playing, but we'll see. There are ways the Eagles are a weaker team. I just why is this different than the Chargers game and the Bills game? It's the Eagles offense is at least that competent in this kind of a game to be able to score that many points. Eagles a small favorite, about 1.5 in the market. Just how do you see this game playing out? Obviously, these have been two really prolific offenses, not just this year, but last year. Two quarterbacks kind of contending for the MVP, offensive player of the year candidates. You had Tyreek and A.J. Brown. Just how do you think each team will kind of perform offensively? Maybe who benefits the most in a game like this?
I totally agree, Ken. I think it should be a high-scoring affair, but I thought it'd be the same thing between the Cowboys and the Chargers, so who might have tell what game's going to be over the total. But I think when you look at these two offenses and you look specifically at the defenses, I mean, the Dolphins have given up a lot of big points lately. Even the loss to the Bills, it was 48 points. The win against the Panthers, I don't think anybody saw them going down 14-0. So they've certainly given up a lot of, big production to some surprising offenses in the case of the Panthers for sure. The Eagles, I think it's going to, probably come down to is Lane Johnson playing, because we've seen this offense really, really struggle when he's not out there, certainly when the offensive line's not at full strength. So they'll have some time to prepare for that if he's not going to play, but I'd just like to see him out there because I want to see all those points. A.J. Brown's, on just a magical run right now, so Jalen Hurts is leaning on him. There's always the potential for Devontae Smith to get going. DeAndre Swift has been fantastic. Dallas Goedert's gotten going of late, so there's a lot to like about that side. And then do the Eagles really feel like a team that's going to completely shut down the Dolphins? I don't think so. So you have all these guys that play with, Tua and Mostert and the two receivers there, especially now that Jalen Waddle's going again. So it should be a fantastic performance. I really hope that we get that type of game from these two teams because that's what we're all waiting to see.